If you are a man struggling with pornography and you're doing No Nut November, you're doomed to fail. These solutions never work long term, and there's a very specific reason why. My name is Sathya Sam. I'm a men's transformation coach, an international speaker, and a former university researcher, and I've dedicated the last 6 years of my life to helping men successfully quit pornography. Now, that may sound like an overstatement to you, but I struggled with a 15-year porn addiction. I've been clean for over 8 years since I overcame it, and I've helped thousands of other people quit pornography as well. If you follow what I show in this video, you can expect similar results. Hey, really quick, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you click like. If you want more content like this delivered straight to you, make sure you subscribe. And if you have any feedback or any questions, I read everything that you guys write. Let me know in the comments below. Let's get back to the video. So let's talk a little bit about what No Nut November really is. No Nut November is 30 days long, and for those 30 days, you're not going to engage in anything like masturbating or watching porn or anything of that kind. This right off the bat is a huge red flag because if we really think about it, when you watch pornography, you are getting programmed for short-term gratification, right? That immediate, instant hit and reward. So when you settle for solutions like internet filters, where you just slap something on real quick, or you try to go to a quick seminar, or for 30 days, you're just going to do this challenge with no long-term plan in mind, all you're doing is taking that short-term gratification for something bad and trying to get short-term gratification for something good. And while that is definitely an improvement, and I suppose you're going in the right direction, it still doesn't change the fact that you're seeking short-term gratification. The antidote to your brain's wiring for quick rewards is to play a long game, is to be patient. It's to not engage in these quick fixes and 30-day challenges, but to actually figure out what's it going to look like for me to get free for 30 months. That's interesting. That's actually worth pursuing. And I guarantee you, if you set your outcomes a little bit longer, you'll start to set better plans that won't just get you all rah-rah and excited about a 30-day challenge, but you'll start to make incremental progress until 30 months later, your life looks very different. Now, the biggest problem with No Nut November is that it doesn't actually tackle the roots of the situation. In fact, if you comb all the research and all the studies and the thousands of people who have successfully quit porn, a bunch of those guys are clients of ours or former clients, what you'll find is that the only real reliable method is a roots-based approach, where instead of just trying to manipulate and change your behavior and apply some habit hacks, you actually get to the cause of the porn addiction. You get as deep underneath the surface as you need to. You fix things there, and in the process of changing the roots, you begin to have different behaviors. Everybody who gets all excited about No Nut November has no plan. They're just going to exercise some more willpower, some self-discipline, maybe a quick little accountability arrangement that's going to fail and eventually fade away anyway. And they don't end up any clearer on what the roots really are. If I was starting in recovery all over again today, I would rather take 30 days to plan my course, to get clarity on what the roots are, and then start taking action towards them. I would avoid something like this at all costs because ultimately I'm just going to end up back where I started, but worse. And here's why. See, when you struggle with a pornography addiction like I did for 15 years, every time that you sink your hope into a new solution, you have to hope for dear life that it works. Because if it doesn't, not only are you going to end up back at square one, you're going to have more evidence of your failures. You're going to have more evidence that it's not possible. And a lot of our clients have come to us after No Nut November because they're depressed, they're hopeless, and they tried yet another solution that failed. And every time they try a solution that fails, it reinforces that this addiction is really hard to quit. It's impossible. I'm never going to make it work. I can't figure this out. I should give up. So when you are picking your solutions for recovery, you want to protect your hope. You want to protect your hope because if you just do a quick short-term fix kind of solution, you're probably going to end up back where you started and you're going to feel more hopeless. And that means it's not just like, oh, well, at least I broke even. It's actually a net negative, and it would have been better if you never did it in the first place. Now, instead of doing No Nut November, let me give you a better solution that's not only going to make November more enjoyable, it's going to ensure that you actually get lasting freedom so that years from now, you're not still doing No Nut November again. Okay, the first thing is we want to be realistic about our expectations. So let's think about this. You've been addicted to pornography for years. You have watched hundreds of hours of content. You have reprogrammed your brain and your body to get certain hits and releases and dopamine in some sort of period of time, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, or even just a few times a year. Do you really think that a 30-day challenge is just going to magically reverse all that and you're never going to go back to those old habits again? It's just not realistic. So let's set some more realistic timelines. Typically, for somebody to go from, hyper addiction at the absolute worst to a place of full freedom takes anywhere from 6 to 48 months. Now, that's a huge range, but even that time scale, you can start to see how that starts to feel a little bit more realistic if we're talking about something as complex and deeply embedded as porn addiction. Now, we can actually shrink that time horizon. It doesn't have to take you 48 months. In fact, for me, it was 5 years. It was even longer than that. But most of the clients that we work with today start to see a lot of traction at about the 2-month mark. By the time they hit 4 months, they're in a really good place. And if they stay on that course at the 6, 12-month, 18-month mark, now there's a couple things that you need to do to hit this timeline effectively. The first thing is to ditch the accountability systems. Okay, they've brought you this far and look where you are. You needed No Nut November. Your accountability systems aren't working. Find a community instead. Plugging into a community is a lot more beneficial. A lot of the addiction research suggests that the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it's connection. So you and I are both better off when we're not just in a one-on-one environment with somebody else who kind of knows what they're talking about, but is kind of permissive and they don't really care that much about whether or not we watch porn. We're a lot better off with a community or an army of men who are moving forward, who are serious about recovery, and who are supporting each other, linking arms, saying, we're going to conquer this thing together. Ditch the accountability systems, join a community. The second thing is you need to stop guessing. Look, the fact that you did No Nut November tells me that you probably don't know exactly what solution you need to get free of pornography. And look, I get it. I mean, I've been there. I tried for 5 years to quit pornography before I finally broke through. And you know what? It could have been a lot shorter if I would have swallowed my pride, reached out for help, and let somebody who knew what they were talking about guide me through recovery. Instead, I jumped from No Nut November to internet filters, to praying more, to accountability software. And I just kept jumping from one thing to the next, hoping that something would work instead of just finding somebody who knew what they were doing, who had experience and a track record, and who was passionate about this subject, and then just followed the system that they laid out for me. I could have saved myself a lot of heartache and a lot of hardship if I would have found somebody sooner. And I hope that this helps you to find somebody now so that you don't have to waste any more time either. Okay, and the last thing that you should do that's actually very practical is instead of counting streaks, which is for weak-willed men who pay attention to the wrong metrics, track trends. In other words, when I'm working with a client, I don't care what they did in the last 30 days. I don't care if they had 75 relapses or 2 relapses or something in between. What I want to see is over the last 6 months, what's been your relapse rate? Is it better from month 5 to month 6, from month 4 to month 5? And where we are now, are things going in the right direction? If they're not, we need to make some adjustments. We're going to course correct, we're going to tune things up, and we're going to get you back on track. But if you went 30 days when all the 5 months before you were watching 30 times a month, I don't really care. That's not a trend going in the right direction. That's just a weird anomaly that I can't really do anything with. I'm much more interested in slow incremental progress. That's a much greater indicator that somebody's going to really be successful, especially if they want to be successful long term, which I know is your goal, as it should be. So if you're ready to quit pornography properly and you want to really do this the right way so you can be free long term, not just for 30 days, go to my website, check it out. There's actually a free book on there that explains my entire recovery system back to front. It's my gift to anybody who goes and checks it out, completely free of charge. The link is in the description below. And in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.